Perrion Winfrey got cut, and this is not surprising. And Tristan, I will let you go first on this, but I just want to say this right off the bat. A couple days before he got cut, or rather, I should say, it was more like a week, probably like a week or two, week and a half before Perrion Winfrey got cut. I'm not going to name the person, but somebody I know who knows him, or knew him, texted me a picture of Perrion at a gun range and said Perrion's here, and I was like, oh no. Like that was my first reaction, was like, oh no. And then this person told me, yeah, tomorrow Perrion's planning on buying like 2 guns, he said. And sure, maybe that information doesn't matter at this point, but it was kind of like a really like yikes. Like I don't want this guy being there and being in this situation. And then the very next day, apparently before he bought these guns, he got robbed. So it's just been, I don't know. I've heard nothing but negative things about Perrion and from people who know him, and he surrounds himself with bad people, and that's kind of dragged over. I don't know, Tristan. Did you see the reports where it was like teammates of Perrion didn't want to hang around him and were surprised that he got cut so late? Like it's bad.
Yeah, I definitely saw stuff like that. Feel free to keep going.
No, you're good.
'Cause
Go ahead.
yeah, okay. Um, what I mean, it's the same thing as the Antonio Callaway thing, because Antonio Callaway, first year was electric. I thought for us, he wasn't like the biggest player in our team, but he showed a lot of promise for a rookie that we had drafted so late. In this situation, I don't think that's the exact same thing with Perrion. More so that he was a second round pick as far as talent goes, but man, like just didn't have it together. Um, it's such a shame because I mean, this guy, if he really would have focused and I shouldn't even say focused on football. Like if he would have just cut out the bad part, like the bad influences in his life, and dedicated himself to, football and his family, I shouldn't say the family part because I don't know about his family, but I'll revise. If he would have focused on improving his on the field performances and dedicating himself to football, in the way that he should have, he's probably a guy that is a surefire guy to be starting next to Dalvin Tomlinson this year. I mean, the talent is there. The talent, and that's honestly the only reason why we held on to him for so long, is because he has that talent. But it's clear he just doesn't focus on football and isn't focused on the healthy things in his life that are going to bring him happiness and eternal wealth for his family. He's clearly not focused on that, and I certainly hope he fixes that. But man, I can't help but sit here and think about how excited we were talking about drafting Perrion Winfrey last year. Like,
Yep.
He was the guy for us. He was the guy. He was the one that we wanted. As far as the D tackles go, we were saying that we would have traded up to take him in the second round. We were shocked when we passed on him in the third. It's just so sad to see a guy ruin his career this way by getting involved in stuff that he just shouldn't be involved in. He's above that now. He's an NFL football player. He doesn't need to be involved in this type of stuff, but he is. And it's a shame. It's a shame. So I wish him the best. I really hope he does find his feet somewhere in the NFL. But it's not going to be in Cleveland, and for all the reason he gave Andrew Berry every reason to cut him. And that's what it was. He gave Andrew Berry every single reason possible to cut him. And it felt like AB held on as long as he could
Mhm.
because, he certainly wasn't producing enough on the field to warrant it. Um, it's just sad. It's sad. I would say I'm angry about the situation, but more so just disappointed. Um, and I'm just ready to move on from this situation. It seems like we always find ourselves in this situation with players. Um, because AB, rightly or wrongly, invests in guys that have the talent, have the ability, that just, you know, don't seem to have it mentally yet. And he's preying on guys to get through and to and I shouldn't necessarily say just AB because John Dorsey did it too. Um, but it always feels like we're in the situation with players. Like every year, it feels like there's some big drama or some big thing that's happening with one of our players off the field, and it's just a distraction. Um, yeah, I'm happy it's over. Wish Perry the best. All the time in the world. Gutted that it didn't work out, but what can we do? I'm ready to move on. Ready to watch NFL football and to hopefully watch a winning football team.
Yeah, this pisses me off because to your point, and here's the thing. Again, I've said it so many times on this podcast, Tristan, you agree. The thing that pisses me off the most about sports as a whole is wasted potential. When you're too dumb to get out of your own way. And it just, I don't know, it's such bullshit with Perrion Winfrey because it's like, dude, do you understand the opportunity that was handed to you? You were first of all, you were drafted way later, like you just said, Tristan, than you should have been because a multitude of different things, but this being one of them. And Perrion Winfrey at his best, at what we thought he could be, would have been the perfect number 2 defensive tackle on this team right now. Could not have been any better because you have your obviously do it all guy with Myles Garrett, great at everything. He's a monster. Dalvin Tomlinson, he's no slouch as a pass rusher. He's better than people give him credit for, but that is your run stuffer. Perrion Winfrey was that up the field rusher from the defensive tackle spot. And on the other side, obviously, Zadarius Smith now with Okoronkwo and all the guys in that room. It would have been the perfect fit, the perfect glue to bring that defensive line together had Perrion Winfrey got his head out of his ass and just figured it out. And I'm talking off the field and on the field because off the field, from everything that I've heard, he's been nothing but a distraction. He's been nothing but a cancer. And I don't say that lightly because I think that term gets overused a little bit where it's like, oh, that guy's a cancer. Well, in some cases, yes. In some cases, no, it's not fair. In this case, Perrion Winfrey, and I'm not gonna put the blame on him solely for this. Um, but the robberies that were happening with Browns players in Cleveland, I don't think it's a coincidence that Perrion was around. I don't. And everything that I've heard about him getting involved in gang stuff and everything like that, don't think it's a coincidence. And you know, the fact that we got where we're at is ridiculous because obviously you had to cut him. Like you just said, Tristan, you tried to hold on to him as long as you could, but then this video comes out with this chick who I don't want to sell her out or anything. I mean, her name's out there. Her Instagram's is like the hottest chick in Ohio or whatever. She's one of these girls that thinks she's a model and she's not. But I'm not trying to be disrespectful to her. But this is the same chick that Baker Mayfield was sliding up in the DMs on and it's like, what the hell? Like, what can these Oklahoma players stay away from her? Like, it's not worth it, And again, not trying to be disrespectful to her at all. And this is not about her, but you just keep running into problems. And this video comes out, and Perrion does what he does, and to her, and that's terrible. Obviously, that's horrible. And there's some people out there saying, "Oh, she was, trying to set him up." I don't care if she was or not. It does not matter if she was trying to set you up or not. She exposed Baker Mayfield and nobody really cared. It's kind of funny how, that really didn't get any news except among us Browns fans. And again, it's none of my business to be talking about that. But point being, if you know what this chick did to Baker and you're in the locker room, you would think, hey, probably stay away from her. Maybe that's just me. I've known some toxic, people. I'm not gonna. I'll just move on. But point being, stay away. It's not worth it. These people are the same. They won't change. Just stay away. And Perrion, whether if she was trying to get him to do something or not, that doesn't matter. He still did it. The video is terrible. It's indefensible. You cannot defend it. And Andrew Berry had to cut him. He had to. And should it have happened a long time ago? Yes. And there is this conversation, Tristan, with, hey, is it worth it holding on to Kareem Hunt after he kicked that lady? Is it worth it bringing in Deshaun Watson? This is always, like you said, it's a conversation with the Browns with all this. And for me, it's terrible from the human aspect, but from the on the field standpoint, I want to reiterate it again. You had an opportunity on a good football team to be a key piece. And now the Browns will be fine. I mean, maybe you disagree, Tristan. Let me know. I think whoever D tackle number 2 is will be fine because of how good that room is around him. But that could have been your spot. And he's young. I mean, it could have been a situation where Perrion was the defensive tackle number 2. And after 3 years or so, whatever it is, Tomlinson, you move on from him. Perrion's your guy. And then you have Ika next to him. Could have been that. I mean, I'm not saying it would have. The NFL changes so much. Who knows? We don't know anything about Ika or how he's going to work out, obviously. But opportunity was there. And he blew it. So, with that being said, let's kind of shift. Not really. I mean, it's the same topic, but um, Tristan, how do you feel about that room? Because I like what we have there depth wise in rotation. But a guy like Matthew Ioannidis is still out there. Depending on what he would cost, I'd bring him in. But what are you thinking, Tristan?
Um, I mean, honestly, I kind of like what we've got there. Just because I think there's a good mix of players that uh, have some potential. In that you're hoping will step up, but at the same token, you're right. There's no favorite for that other tackle spot, that other D tackle spot. Some people will say Jordan Elliott. Uh, I personally I've seen enough of him. I if it works out this year, great. But I mean, let's be honest here. It's unlikely. Uh, I think bringing in Matt Ioannidis makes a lot of sense, just because from a standpoint of he's a solid run defender, solid pass rusher. You know what you're getting with him. The only issue with that is I don't think that there's many spots on this defense that you could consider a potential liability anymore because of the talent that we have. Um, so, I mean, to be honest with you, I almost want to say I don't care
Yeah,
because I'm content with how it
I
looks right
feel the
now.
same way. Yeah,
I'm content with how it looks right now. If we bring Matt and Ioannidis in, that's fantastic. It's another great addition to the room. Um, but I'm content with where it's at right now. I'd be okay with us sitting with where we're at, and then maybe middle of the season we say, hey, you know what? None of these rookies are cutting it. Let's bring somebody in and either like doing a trade or signing somebody who's available in free agency. That's where I think we're at right now. At least waiting and seeing how camp shakes out, and seeing who steps up. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, long and short of it is I just want to win some damn football games. I don't think the D tackle is going to matter
No,
much at this point.
no.
Earlier in the offseason, absolutely it matters because we couldn't, like my my grandmother on a motorized scooter could rush for 4 yards carry
Yeah,
on this defense. So, uh, that's what it was last season. So,
yeah.
uh, you know, we're I think we're doing okay though. I'm not too worried about it. Derek, I mean, Matt Ioannidis, how would you feel if we brought him in?
So while you were talking, I off the top of my head, I wrote down everybody in that defensive tackle room that I could think of. So, um, right now, obviously Dalvin Tomlinson's your starter. So let's look at this. Obviously, Siaki Ika is your draft pick. He's going to be there for sure. Tommy Togiai is obviously a lot of people want him cut, but at least for now, he's penciled in there. Jordan Elliott, same situation. And the Browns brought in Tristan Hill, who's kind of a defensive tackle edge who played with Cowboys, was solid. And then Maurice Hurst. So that's what you're looking at as far as rotation right now for that D tackle number two. Ioannidis would obviously come in, cement himself, and be that defensive tackle number two for sure. And then you really wouldn't have to rotate as much. I mean, you still could, obviously. Um, and it would actually work out good because then you could have like Ika fill that Tomlinson role of just being that run stuffer and then whoever. I mean, it's not really a hard equation to figure out. It's just going to be up to Jim Schwartz and what he wants to do. But Tristan, way back when we signed Maurice Hurst, I said, "Who?" And you said it was a good signing, and I was kind of like, "Oh, I don't know." Um, upon further review, I am a big fan of Maurice Hurst. I actually love that signing in hindsight. I didn't know enough about him then. Obviously, have done my homework since then, and I like him a lot. And I think for me, Tristan, based on what we've heard out of camp, and we'll get into some camp takeaways here in a few, but I've heard nothing but good things from Maurice Hurst, and he has been good in the NFL. The only problem has been injury related. So if it were up to me, would I make the call to Ioannidis? Of course, I would say, hey, we can do this, and would you come in for a year, prove it deal type situation? If yes, great. If not, I'm not worried enough to overpay. Like you said, don't really care. Not as important. I'd much rather go out and spend a little bit or trade at linebacker than anything. But who knows? We'll see. But for me, I think probably the way the depth chart would shake out. Well, not even going to get into that yet. Well, we got preseason to worry about to figure that out. But I think we're fine. I think we'll be okay. It's certainly not a great group of guys, but who you got heading up the group with Tomlinson is what you want. Now, if he goes down, then you're really screwed. Then it's kind of like, oh shit, what do we got? But I'm not too worried about it. If that time comes, knock on wood that it won't. Um, we'll figure it out then. So, before we move on, you got anything else you want to add about Perrion in that defensive tackle room?
Yeah, I mean, just with the D tackle room, the other thing to consider is the depth that we have at edge. Um, I wonder if one of our young edge rushers, I like, for example, like Alex Wright, I wonder if we see Schwartz try to kick one of those guys inside, in like pass rush scenarios. Um, just because I think Alex Wright, when we're looking at the defensive, the edge rushers we have on this roster, um, the edges we have, I just don't know if Alex Wright fits in that group. the other edge rushers have got a lot more speed, quickness to them, power. Um, for me, Alex Wright doesn't like have the bend, that we typically see out of the other edge rushers that we've got here. Unless if he's improved drastically, which is very possible. He was a very high potential type of guy. I don't know if I see him as an edge in this system. But I'll be interested to see. He's definitely a guy worth keeping an eye on. Maurice Hurst, absolutely, yeah. He was, for people who don't know, Maurice Hurst was supposed to be a first round pick. I want to say in like 2018, 2019. Um, and he had it during a medical, like it was revealed he had some type of issue with his heart, which made him fall to like, I think it was like the fifth round, somewhere in that ballpark between the
Mhm.
fourth and sixth, which unbelievable fall. And then, like you said, just plagued with injuries. So he's a guy that I'm really hoping works out. And based off of how he sounds, how he's doing at camp, he realizes this might be his last chance.
Yeah.
And he's fighting for it. So I'm rooting for him. I do like Siaki Ika a lot. He is a guy that I viewed as a high potential pick for our system. If we were playing like a 3-4, you're pretty much getting as much as you can out of him. But with the 4-3 system, he can slim down a bit and get a little bit more speed to his game,
I was about
which
to say
I
that
think,
boy is thick.
oh yeah,
Pause. Have you seen those pictures out of camp? That dude, he is.
he's a big
That's a
mother.
wide
Yeah,
load.
yeah. That's
Pause.
exactly
That's
why I
even
liked
worse.
him.
Good
That's why,
lord, jeez.
yeah, that's exactly why I liked him, because based off of how much
Uh,
we had sucked against the run, we could use a big body in the trenches. Lord knows. So,
yeah.
yeah, I think one of those two guys is probably my leading contender to take that second spot. If it goes to Jordan Elliott, I'm not gonna cry. I just don't think Jordan Elliott's gonna have an important role really at all this season, no matter what. Um, but I'm expecting something big from the other two though. So I will say
Yeah.
that.
That room is going to be a pay attention to the preseason. That room,
Oh yeah.
the edges, just to see how that depth chart shakes out. Will be very, very interesting. But let's move on here.